rights, such as if maybe a young girl is there and she's pregnant and she wants to terminate, now she's being asked unnecessary questions like, why did you have sex at a young age and stuff like that, or which is totally unnecessary. And that is, I think, that issue is contributing to a lot of health factors that we have in this country, such as teenage pregnancy, HIV, STIs, STDs, and so forth. So I think that statement is factual.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, and one would argue and say, no, that's not true, because we have perfect policies. We have the Department of Basic Education policy, which speaks to accessing condoms in schools, getting comprehensive sexual education in schools, and by right, our clinics are supposed to be youth friendly for young people. In the policies, all is well and nice, but you are here saying it's not exactly what happens on the ground. There is stigma. Where is the stigma coming from? Is it coming from healthcare professionals to young people? Is the stigma coming from the community? Where is the stigma coming from exactly?
The stigma is coming from everywhere, the community and the health people that are supposed to help you at the clinics. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. We know that the type of communities we live in, they are discriminatory, and you get stigmatized for issues such as this. And I think the problem is we need to learn and accept that teenagers are always going to get pregnant. Teenagers are just going to do what they want. If they are having sex and it's unprotected sex, obviously they're going to get pregnant. So now they get to a clinic and they want to perform a termination, and it's an issue because now they get stigmatized by the health facilitators at the clinics. They also, and they keep the pregnancy, they get stigmatized in the community. Now what must they do? Because I think that that's also contributing to the high suicide levels we have right now in South Africa. So I think the stigma is coming from all angles, and I really, really think it's a burning issue actually in this country. And the policies are just a piece of paper. The policies are just a piece of paper. If the policy says something needs to be put to action and it's not put to action, then I guess the policies are not being followed. So I think that is the problem. Whether the health policies say 1, 2, 3, if it's not being practiced at health facilities, then I think it's quite useless at this point.
So, what advice would you give in terms of actioning the paper and the wording and the policies into implementation, so that whatever is in the policies, whatever is in the paper, is implemented, and therefore young people? I mean, recently we saw statistics of young people who were getting pregnant from as young as 10 years to 14 years. And what would you say about that? How would you then work around the issues of 10-year-olds being pregnant? What exactly can be done? How do we come together to eliminate the stigma, since you're saying it's coming both ways, from the communities and from the healthcare professionals? How do we then come together as one to sort of action the nice wording that's on the paper to be implemented on the ground?
Okay, I think that's where companies or that's where Zakini comes in at that point. That is what Zakini is trying to do, and that is what the program and advocacy I'm working in at Zakini, they are doing. We have awareness campaigns. We have we have awareness campaigns. We have dialogues with the community where we go into the community, find out what is the problem, and then come back with solutions. Because I feel like the biggest problem here is lack of knowledge. Lack of knowledge, especially within our parents. The lack of knowledge is not necessarily in the youth community, it's the adults, because they were raised in a different time, so they follow they followed a whole different process than we follow. They grew up in the times where we understand HIV was a big thing then. It just started. Sex was a taboo, and in our times, we have to speak more freely about these things. We have to speak more freely about there's such thing as sex, there's such thing as STIs, there's such thing as teenage pregnancy, there's such thing as rape, and so forth and so forth. So I feel like if they are they have the knowledge, I think maybe we can probably decrease the stigma that young adults get in the community, because I feel like, and also I think it also starts at home. It also starts at home. I feel like parents should be kinder to their children. I'm not saying that they should condone this type of behavior, but they shouldn't make it a taboo, and they shouldn't make it seem like if you do this, you are cancelled. There is no such thing as you're cancelled, because now the problem is they stigmatize the child within the house, and then also in the community, that same girl or boy, for whatever reasons, gets stigmatized, and now when they try to find help at health facilities, they get stigmatized and discriminated as well. So now what must they do? What must happen? Because I feel like that is the problem. So I feel like that's where organizations such as Zakeni come in. That's what we are trying to fight. I think that's the main core that they're trying to fight, and that's why when let's say a teenager is pregnancy and they come forth to Zakeni for help, that's why we have our linkage officers to accompany them to these health facilities and make sure that they're not discriminated or stigmatized, and they get the necessary help that they need. So I feel like, yeah, I feel like it's a slow process, but we are getting there slowly.
Awesome. So I'm picking two things here as you are speaking. You spoke about the issue of our parents repeating the practices that were done back then. Listening to that statement, actually, to me, it says that we're still stuck in beliefs. That's tradition and religion and culture. How do we then sensitize the culture, tradition, and religion to keep up with the times? Because what our parents were taught back then is not what we are taught now. Also, the way our bodies mature is not like what happened back then in the day. So, what ways could we use to bring a common ground in the room with a 1920s person and a 2000s kid to reach one common goal of decreasing HIV, STIs, teenage pregnancy, and backstreet abortions?
Okay. With that, I think it takes me back to the lack of knowledge, and also there are some battles that we cannot win. I think that's another thing that we have to accept, is that yes, we can sensitize our parents and our elders and educate them on such topics, but we cannot pull them from their roots. We cannot pull them from what they were taught. So if they were raised on such practices and traditions, the only thing we can do is educate them and hope that they take the knowledge that they got from us and implement it onto their families. Yes, it's not going to take one awareness campaign in a community such as Winterfeld. It's not just going to take one consultation meeting or one dialogue. No, it's an ongoing process. It's going to take Zakeni or organizations such as that going back in the community again and again, time and again, and trying to figure out ways that they can implement the new practices and traditions that are followed today. So I feel like also I feel like the schools play a big part in this. If the government stops also treating such topics as taboo and actually educate our children in school on these such topics, then they can also go home and educate their parents, because you get home and the child is being helped with their homework by their parents. While they're helping them, they're also reading, they're also gaining that knowledge. So slowly, I feel like we're gonna get there, but it's just gonna take a bit more time and work at this point.
Yeah. Also, to add on, I think we might say the government this, the parents that, but what are we saying as young people? Are we eager to learn? Do we want to know what's happening? I know a lot of people A lot of young people do not know about PrEP. What is PrEP? How do you access it? Where do you access it? So that's not something that we can say, but my parents never taught me about PrEP. Are young people organized? Are they willing to learn? I like what Zakeni is doing because it is using a peer-led approach to young people so that it comes from the young people for the young people. But are young people willing to learn out there? Or they're just sitting saying, okusalayo kuyafana, we're going to be stigmatized. You know, parents don't want. What are we doing as a collective of young people? What change do we want? Because also the fact that there's policies that are done without us, for us, it's a problem. Where were we? Why are we not there? Why are we not challenging those policies to say, okay, you've got this policy, but that's your policy. It speaks to you. Us as young people, this is what we want. This is how we think things could work. HIV is affecting us as young people. So why would I want solutions from someone who's not affected, right? Why, we need to form collectives of young people, groups, be knowledge. Also, learn to read because you can't talk about rights that you don't know. That's the reason why young people get turned away in clinics because you don't know your rights, you don't know your responsibilities that go with the rights. So I think we need to emphasize on that as young people, we need to play a part as well. What is it that we need to do on our side rather than shifting blame and saying government this, parents, who, you know.
Yeah. I think when it comes to teenagers, especially the ones who are still in school, their mind is always running. So I feel like they are always willing to learn, only if they are given the chance, right? Because it's hard. For an example, I remember one time we had a consultation meeting in, I think it was Mabupani, if I'm not mistaken, and we were out mobilizing, right? Calling young girls to come in to the meeting and learn and hear what we have to say and whatnot. And I remember, I think the topic was about PrEP. We came across girls who were so hesitant, like, no, I have to go and ask my mom, or no, I don't think my mom is going to agree, because the moment they hear the word sex, already in their head, it's a taboo. It's like, no, my mom doesn't want to hear about this at all. So I feel like that is a problem as well. That's why I'm saying they are willing to learn if they are given the chance and the means to learn. So if at home, sex is a taboo, HIV is a taboo, talking about condoms is a taboo. How do you expect that child to go and attend such meetings and learn when when at home they are taught that you are not supposed to know about this? So I feel like the young people, yes, they are willing to learn only if they are given the means. And I like what you said about the policies, that the problem is that they were drawn up when at a different time, and now we are in a much different time. So what happens then? Because the traditions that were followed then and the traditions that we follow now are very different. So do those policies relate to the times of now? Are they what's the word? Are they relevant in today's time?
Effective, yeah.
So I feel like that's also a problem. I feel like you raised a good point there.
Because also when it comes to our health, we have structures where young people could actually position themselves for the sake of their voice being heard. I mean, in clinics, we have clinic committees. How often do we demand to put a young person to be there for young people in that clinic committee so that when the committee sits and decisions are made, there is a voice of a young person? The school governing bodies, they say it's for parents. Why can't there be a young person in the school governing body? So that when the parents decide, there is a young person who's the voice of the other young people that are not there. The school governing body is not for parents. It's not a parents' body or a burial society or in. We need young people to be in those structures so that our voices can be magnified. There's hospital boards. Why are we not on the hospital boards? We have a vibrant young people from COSAs, your political party youth leagues, but we are not there We are only there when it comes to toy. So I think this is the time, this is the year where we change the narrative and stop complaining and say, you know what, this is how we're going to challenge these things. This is how we're going to make these policies flexible to suit us as young people.
I agree. And also, I feel like a point you raised about doing and striking. One thing we have to look at is that young people, teenagers, are very quick to react to something that seems fun or something that they feel like it's going to benefit them, but not benefit them in a sense of a good way, not benefit them in a sense of education or knowledge, stuff like that. For example, if they decide in your neighborhood or wherever that they're gonna toy that whichever person or minister must not govern that certain neighborhood, and now the streets are blocked and children can't go to school. Do you realize that they are not bothered by that? Majority of the teenagers are not bothered by old people doing and blocking the roads and not letting them go.
The name of ESCOM is
exactly. Exactly. They will join those type of strikes. But if now one person was to say, let's strike to this type of clinic and demand, where is the health community? Where are these people that are supposed to be helping us? Why is this and this and this happening? I can assure you, not even 50% of the community is going to attend that strike. I feel like that's also a problem.
Exactly.
I feel like, yes, where do our priorities lie? Yeah, can continue.
I'm saying it's wrong as a young person to have a local clinic, your local clinic, that you go to, but you don't know the clinic committee structure. Like, it's so improper. Where do you complain? You need to know who's in the clinic committee. Even besides complaining, how do you refer other young people? Let's say a young person comes and says, I was raped. Who do you refer them to? Because you know no one.
Exactly.
So it's not always about complaining. Also, it's not always fighting with the facilities or the schools, but rather we build relationships of working together, seeing how we can solve the problem as a bigger collective. So those are the things maybe we need to look at, because young people are often left out in things, but they're not left out to leave ourselves out because we're too busy doing things that don't benefit us. So yeah, I think we're going to take a short break. We'll be back in the next minute or so.
Okay.
Changemakers show, which airs every Tuesday from 3 p.m. And today our topic is Are disabled young people stigmatized in healthcare facilities? And our guest for the day is Lebanon Koza from an organization called Zakeni, which deals with youth prevention and advocating for access to SRH services. For those of you who've just joined, you can check the recording on our Facebook page. We've been airing live, but there will be a recording available, and our social media pages, Twitter on Show Me Your Number, and on Instagram. So back to Lebohang. We spoke about the difficulty in accessing healthcare services for young people, right? Young people are key and vulnerable populations. But now we are focusing on a specific group of young people, that is your disabled young people. Do you think it's even more difficult for them to access services? Do you think the stigma is magnified to say, when you say wheelchair, you know, those kind of things, the language that we get in clinics from the community, do you think it's even more challenging to try and access SRHR services in healthcare facilities as a young person living with disabilities?
Yeah, I think it's way more difficult. And on this topic, I feel like it's sensitive, especially to me, because I feel like it's hard to speak for someone when you don't know what they're going through. But looking from the outside in, I think it's way more difficult because, first of all, before people see you, if you are disabled, before people see you, they see your disability. And now already they are judging you based on your disability. And now on top of that, you want to come and tell them, Uti, Wena, you are pregnant and you want to terminate. And now you get all these type of languages and words, Uti, you are disabled, you're on a wheelchair or you are on crutches and yet you are able to sleep with people, you don't know how to use condoms, stuff like that. I feel like it's bad. It's really bad. If I even get to if I get in it actually and actually tell what really happens and what they say to these people, it's bad. It's really bad. And I feel like with disabled people, it's quite unfair because most of them, actually not even most of them, all of them didn't choose to be like that. Some were born like that. Some got into accidents that left them like that. So now what must they do? So I feel like also disabilities in our communities are stigmatized a lot.
You know, so I travel a lot, and don't even laugh at this because the last time I saw a sign of a disabled structure where a disabled person can be accommodated. For an example,
Yes.
someone who's using a wheelchair is at a mall or car park. Our healthcare facilities, they do not accommodate young people that use wheelchairs. Now, as we're speaking about this topic, I'm like, I've never seen them. And develop, where do they access their services? You know?
Exactly.
Like, I think they were not even an afterthought. As I'm telling you, Guti, that sign, I think most of us know it from the car parks, parking.
Yeah.
Most of the places, buildings, and I don't even think there's mobile sites or your quick whatever. Like I'm trying to think, where do they access their services? And now that you're talking about it, it's even bothering me. Where do they go, Vele? What's happening?
Exactly.
Are we missing that population in our interventions?
Exactly. You go to a big mall, you get escalators. And then there are some malls that have escalators and they don't have elevators. Now what must those people in wheelchairs do? What must they do? How do they get to those top floors? And it's not even just malls, also health facilities, also your clinics and your hospitals. The same people where they go and get treated, they're not getting the means, they're not even accommodated, they're not thought of. So I feel like our government is lacking on that department. They are lacking. And I don't know, maybe it's because, like I said, it's hard to talk about something that you have not been through. I'm not making excuses for them, but I think maybe it's the ignorance of not living with a disability. You don't know how it feels, so you just don't care. You understand?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's also the problem.
So, I think in our next advocacy steps, we must say young people. Then not necessarily that we want to grade them, but we must look at all populations that young people are. Your LGBTQIA, your young people living with disabilities, young people living with HIV, young people diagnosed with TB. Like, we are a diverse population of young people. And as we advocate, we're just generalizing, saying young people, and using the one glove fits all approach, which is also setting us up for a failure as young people. So
not helping.
we still have a lot of work to do as young people for ourselves before we even go and challenge smang mang, this and that. You know, we need full representation in all structures.
Yeah, I feel like we have a long way to go. Also, you mentioned the LGBTQIA community. I also have friends in that community, and sometimes when I go out with them, let's say we go to a restaurant of some sort, and then now I'm with a person that has male features, but they identify themselves as female. Now, which toilet do they use? Because now they identify as female. They want to use the female toilet. Now they get all these bad words and stigma from the people from that facility. You can't be in here because you're a man. I feel like it's insensitive. I feel like that's also another burning issue that we need to desensitize ourselves of and gain knowledge of, because it's also a problem. It's becoming a problem, actually.
That on social media, there was a hot topic the past few days about the issue of census. They were asking that, so census only counts males and females. What about the rest of the populations? So
Exactly.
Those are the things that are happening right in front of our eyes, and we're looking.
And what are we
saying
doing
anything.
about it?
Yeah. Yes, I think we need to form partnerships, have people from each of the populations represented. When last did we speak about young people who are inmates? The HIV rate in inmates is high, and inmates are one of the key populations that we speak about in the National Strategic Plan. But when we do things, we exclude those people. After the young person who's an inmate has been released from prison, where do we expect them to have a place in the community? How are they rehabilitated? Those kind of things. There's gaps that we're missing. But you and me, we could talk all day. Young and passionate. Yes. I'm not too sure whether there's any last words. I hate to say last words, like it's the last time I'm ever going to speak to someone. But any kind words, any recommendations for young people, how they can reach out to you if they want to speak to you. Yeah.
Okay, I feel like to close off this topic, I feel like also in the awareness campaigns and the consultation meetings that I've been mentioning, I feel like we should also include every one of these populations. It shouldn't just be teenagers. Let it be teenagers who are in the LGBTQI community, teenagers who are disabled, and so forth and so forth. Because I feel like if there's somebody that's standing up for the LGBTI community in those campaigns and meetings, then they have a voice, they have a representative. So I feel like that's also something we also need to look at. We need to be more inclusive to these people. But yeah, I think that's all. So anyone who wants to keep in touch with us at Zakeni Training and Development Center, you can contact us on our landline at 012-797-3585 or chat with us on our Facebook page at Zakeni Training and Development Center SA, or our Twitter handle is Zakeni C, or you can inbox us on our WhatsApp at 066 046 7868. Yeah. I think that's all.
Thank you so much, Lebohang, for making time for us. And thank you for Zakeni as an organization for borrowing us you. And thank you for all the efforts and the good work that you are doing in the communities. Keep up the good work. Until next time. And to the listeners, this is not the end of us. We're back again on Tuesday. You can give us a WhatsApp call on 07825133265. You can send your messages, suggest any topics that you'd want us to focus on as young people. You can also follow us on our social media pages, which is Facebook and Instagram as Show Me Your Number, and on Twitter it's Show Me Your Number. You can also listen to our podcast on SoundCloud by simply following Show Me Your Number Radio. Our website is www.showmeyournumber.org.za. Till next time, ciao.
Bye.
Ungabusa stress amaitali soka lakho sendleleni. In a two-seater, go highway, cruising lane to lane. Umudingi time anelimnyama. There is a price to pay. You got a price to pay. You got a price to pay. Ungabusa stress amaitali. Soga lakho sendleleni. In a two-seater, go highway, cruising lane to lane. Umudingi time anelimnyama. There is a price to pay. You got a price to pay. You got a price to pay. Record labels angidonsa kule line. Loyalty mina ngithengwa ngemali. You can Google me uma ungangazi. Ngiyotheleka ngiyoshiya engalazi. I'm an A-list angisho eMalawi. Sebengiqashela ama-bodyguard.